We're going to talk about the Dutch electronic patient record, which was a law which was eventually not passed in the first chamber, the Senate. They decided not to go on with the project. What happened?
Well, let me say one thing about it at least. The Senate did reject the act on the National Electronic Patient Record. So we have now no law, and there should at least be another one. The question remains, of course, whether this is also the end of the National Electronic Patient Record. I don't expect so.
We call it the electronic patient record, but in fact it's not a record. It's not a new record of patient data. It's just information infrastructure that uses a reference index, which gives information about what healthcare providers have in possession of information from patients. So in the record, there's not a record that contains medical information from patients, but it's a reference index that informs
who knows what about this patient.
Other information.
Now, the thing that has happened is that it first went to Parliament. They had their objections, and one of the things they changed about the original plan was that people can decide not to agree on being in an electronic record. So I think that was a very big change to the original plan. Then you would have thought, well, they've changed so much about it, it will pass the Senate too. How come that didn't happen?
Maybe that's also a sort of a societal process you can see happening, because a sort of general trust within the first chamber, but also within society, how do you say it, developed, and I think led to sort of influencing the public opinion, and yes, at the end all the members of the first chamber didn't believe anymore in this national EPR, but the arguments were, they were already given. It was not really in a very thorough discussion. There was at a certain moment no trust anymore in the whole legislative process, I think.
If there would be a lesson to be learned, would that be that it might not be the right way to make a big plan and put it down upon society, but rather to put it slowly and wait for demand to occur?
Well, I think one lesson that can be learned is that you should make it very easy for people, for the public, to understand what the technique is doing. And I think that's also a very important issue that was lacking here. It was also said in the Senate that this was one of the most difficult files, most difficult topics that they have been dealing with in the last decennia. Because, well, I mentioned before, the issue of record has been very misleading, and it's very important. And I think again that even members of the Senate might not even understand how it actually worked.
I think there is reason to be fearful about privacy, don't you think?
I would agree that you should always look in the future, and I think with respect to these projects as EPR and comparable projects, you should have a broad discussion with a lot of experts in the beginning, just thinking about what could happen and how you would like to design it, and then develop and then make law, and not instead make law and make a new system or think about a new system and then try to discuss about how it should look like. I think that's the other way around. That's not the good.
The good way.
Yeah, the good way. Yes.
Maybe problem is also that we don't accept any risk in our society, or at least very little.
Will there be a time when we regret having given up so much of our privacy?
I think that's possible, and that makes discussion so difficult. I think between privacy and innovation and progress of science and so on. I think we do not know right now. So a lot of discussion is anyway important, but that's a difficult question you pose.
Well, and there are two things. We are talking about privacy, but you also have to talk about data protection. Privacy is a very very sensitive topic, and we can all differ from opinion as regards to privacy. But what you can't differ from are the rules that count for data protection. That are the traffic rules that can say in what ways and under what circumstances and what conditions you need to process personal data. And there's no discussion about, well, less discussion about that.
One thing I also thought that you always have amongst doctors, you have a certain atmosphere. You went to see him. He told you what? I'm sorry. Did he prescribe you that for? They're like plumbers. When you have a plumber, he always said, "Who did this?" I thought that might be one of the sides of the electronic patients file, that doctors are gonna look in records and say, "You know what he prescribed for a headache?"
That's one of the things they fear. Yes. We had an expert meeting in the academic medical center about, why doctors were so reluctant, at least many of them, in accepting this new development. And this was mentioned and emphasized by several people. That, the loss of control I was mentioning already. People can see what you have done wrong and so on.
Thank you very much.